What is your Tinder horror story? A little backstory. A few years ago I was dating this girl and her father really hated me, which was a bit odd as most parents love me, or at least lie about it real well. He was just a huge prick and I always called him on his shit. Anyways, her parents got divorced, we broke up a few months later etc etc. Fast forward to around a year later. Me and girl from Tinder were dating for a few months and things were starting to get serious. We are at the point where she wants me to meet her family. Mother, stepfather, little sister. Why not? I have no problems meeting them. Let's do it, I said. She told me how excited her stepdad was to meet me. As it turns out we both happen to be Kansas City Chiefs fans. Well, duck me if it wasn't the same as whole father of my ex-girlfriend. I don't know why I found this so funny. The absolute awkwardness of the situation is unfathomable. This guy's going to be your father-in-law someday. No matter who you date, it is destined. They are the real soulmates here. Soul hates. My buddy isn't the smartest man. He picked a chick up and drove to a motel. They were walking into the room and she says, "Oh shit, I forgot my purse in the car. Do you mind if I go grab it?" He says, "Yeah, that's fine," and tosses her the keys. 5 minutes later he walks outside wondering where she is, and his car is gone. Edit. For clarification, yes, he got his car back. I think the police found it about a week later. I don't think she was ever caught though. If you're in Baltimore swipping, don't let her near your keys. Auto-zoned. Buddy of mine hit it off with this girl, and after a few days, she invited him over to a house party. Sure, he says, what could go wrong? He shows up and is introduced to a few of her friends, all guys. As the night carries on, more and more guys show up and very few girls are actually at the party. After they start talking about how they all know this girl, they find out that she invited them all from Tinder. Every guy was there not to hook up, but to populate this chick's birthday party. Edit. Autocorrects from phone. That is so very sad, but also kinda clever. Free quality booze and no one would have complained. A gangbang would have been nice, though. Got a Tinder notification on my phone. Realized I don't have Tinder and was holding my girlfriend's phone. Oh shit, did you call her out on it? I'll let the responses I sent to the matches do the calling out. I made her look like queen of the trailer park. Well played. /Zazero Tinder date with a famous chef, where I was taken to a dive bar, where he promptly started talking about how famous he was. /Zazero we drank and watched sports. He proceeded to tell me you're cute and this eventually went to I'm going to make you bleed. He then invited one of his friends to come along. I went outside and he came up to kiss me. I was drunk, so I kissed back. /Zazero eventually he proceeded to tell me how he was being charged with battering his ex-girlfriend, but he totally didn't do it. /Zazero eventually, when it came time to pay the bill, he lost his wallet. Of course, I get stuck with it. I'll pay you back. Needless to say, I never got a payment. Then he leaned up against me. I thought he was trying to kiss me again, but I looked down, and he was peeing on me. In the street. Peeing. On. Me. /Zazero I swiftly, being too inebriated to drive, went and got myself a hotel room and a hot shower. Never again. Started speaking to this guy on Tinder a few months ago. He seemed alright, but not my normal type. Regardless, we started speaking for a couple of days. I didn't realize how stupid I was until now, but I mentioned where I worked. The night I mentioned my workplace, I saw a guy walk past that looked a lot like him. I hadn't met him in person, so I wasn't 100%. I forgot about it, and a couple of days later, it was quiet in work, but my phone battery was low. I said I'd speak to him later before my phone died. Him coming in 10 minutes later with a ducking iPhone charger. Yes, this might have been a nice gesture if you know I'd actually met him face to face before. This was really weird because he said he lived the other side of the city from where I work. I wanted to cut ties straight away, but I thought I'd return the charger after I finished work. He said he would be in a bar around the corner, so when I finished I met up with him, gave him his charger, and made some excuse to go home. To my horror, I saw on his Instagram that he'd taken a smiling selfie earlier in the day with the caption "I'm now a taken man." I'd seen him like not even twice. To make it even scarier, for a good few weeks, every time I'd finish work I would see him casually walking past on his own, exactly at the time I finished. Really creeped me out for a while. The only Tinder date I went on, the woman told me her goal was to get pregnant in the next few months. I noped right out of there. Showed up to the restaurant, waited about 30 minutes. Ordered myself some food, and was about to leave when he texted me, "There's a liquor store across the street from the restaurant. Can you pick me up 2 6-packs?" I told him I wouldn't. He says he's decided to play frisbee with his dog instead. Deleted app, went to liquor store, picked up wine and went home. He texted me for a month or so after to tell me he's just bought tickets to see me dance. I'm a retired ballerina, haven't been in anything for a few years. Then he texts me an hour after and tells me how great I was on stage. I never responded. Dating is too confusing. I'm all done. This couldn't have been asked at a better time. Met a guy on Tinder after ending a 6-year relationship. He was in his last year of PT school and seemed to have his shit together and was really cool. I made it extremely clear that I was in no hurry to rush into a relationship and that I wanted to take my time get to know him better. We ended up dating some months later. Everything was great. I was actually really happy with him and was going to take him home for Christmas. We had been together about 6 months at this point. Last Monday, I got a Facebook message from a random girl. She basically said she matched with my BF on Tinder and found his Facebook account. She noticed that his Facebook noted that he was in a relationship with me, so she messaged me to see if we were in a relationship since they had plans for a date that week. She sent me screenshots of all of their conversations. Bless this little Tinder angel's heart for messaging me. Confront BF, go through phone not like me, find extremely graphic sexual texts between him and at least 2 other girls besides Tinder girl. BF says he was so insecure and worried that I didn't want to be with him, that he wanted this false security. Broke up with him. Got drinks with Tinder girl. We are friends now. Edit. Didn't think people would see this, so I wrote something quickly. I should add that he was all about me opening up about myself. He also lived in his parents' basement, told every girl on Tinder he was a doctor, and opened up by asking what hurts and if they wanted a massage. I think the best part was that he was talking to one girl about music and she said she liked Motion City soundtrack. He was like, "Oh, I just saw them a few weeks ago. I bought us tickets and took him." He was missing some minor details. You guys should start a detective agency. That would be best backstory. Tinder guy was apparently engaged when we met, and while we were dating, also found out 2 weeks after the fact that he got married. We had still been talking every day. And get that golf clap checked. They have a shot for that. Could get nasty. I started talking to this really sweet guy for about 2 weeks and things were going well. Then I started getting calls from this girl, who he claimed was his crazy roommate that was in love with him and kept trying to get him fired from jobs. Turns out, she wasn't the one lying. She was actually his live-in girlfriend, and they had moved here together from a different state. Apparently he wasn't actually a citizen and was trying to obtain papers. Thanks, Tinder. Met a girl at her work at like a moment's notice. She was a waitress and there was literally nobody else in the entire place. We talked for a few hours, then another dude shows up to meet her from Tinder. She would later blog about the experience and describe me as dull and unattractive. She apologized to me the day she posted it. No hard feelings. I just thought it was a crazy story. Edit. Link removed. That was an awful blog post, if it makes you feel any better. Lol. Sounds like she's a terrible human. Met girl. She was quite vocal about no hookups. We went out, got drunk. She used the line, "Want to come back to mine and put your penis in my vagina?" So I did. Just as we started she said, "Oh, I love you. I love you. Do you love me too?" I didn't reply. I just thought concentrate. Concentrate. It was a good night, but then she got really demanding and argumentative. It takes me a while to get used to starting to see someone. I like to get to know them a bit. She was talking about kids within a day of meeting me, and I wasn't quite ready for that conversation. Then she got really shitty that I wasn't as committed as her, called me all sorts of names, and said that I shouldn't be on Tinder if I wasn't going to take our relationship seriously. It was a whirlwind. It felt like a year's worth of emotion bundled into about 3 days. I deactivated my account and stuck with masturbation. There was this guy, he was a solid 10 in his pictures. He messages me, asks me if I want to meet up for coffee, so I say yes. He messages me and tells me that I have to pick him up. Okay, whatever, I'll do it. I pick him up and we decided to go eat instead. He's super funny and cute, so we hang out some more after dinner. Then he pulls out his phone and proceeds to tell me that he has a son and his baby mama took her to Washington, but has no idea what part or anything with him, and he hasn't seen him in months. So he then takes out his phone and tells me to go through a folder on his phone of pictures of his son. Like 300 of them. He sat there and made me look through every single one, and he would tell me the backstory to basically every single video and photo in that folder. I felt so bad, but man, I was happy when he left. That whole date just got so weird after that. He did some more stuff, but those are good stories for another time. Lol edit. I promise you people, he was definitely a 10. I showed pictures of him to my friends and all of them said they would date him with the baggage. He texted me like 8 or 9 times every day after that, and I never replied. I ended up having to block him on all social media because he wouldn't take the hint. Thinking back now. Poor guy. Oh well. I needed a date to pass over dinner with my friends. He wore a vest and a newsboy hat, then introduced himself with a bow and a hat flourish. The night only got worse from there. He refused to eat any of the food because things on the plate were touching it was ducking soup, and wouldn't shut his mouth during the 12 minutes of Sedar. When it came time for his train home, he purposely missed it so he could stay the night. Had a nope. After a movie with uncomfortable levels of verbob, I convinced my friend to come with me to drive him to the nearest train station. During the ride he thought was the best time to tell me he was schizophrenic, but didn't take medicine because it was the devil. He tried to hold my hand saying that they were small and made him feel like a pedophile. The night ended with him telling me he was going to shit on the subway and write my name in it. There was no second date. Matched with my cousin. That means your cousin swiped right too. Wincest? Went on a date with a girl who had already told her whole family about me before we even met, and she wanted me to meet them in person on the first date. Nope. I met up with this guy I had been talking to a few weeks. Tall, dark and handsome, originally from Turkey, world traveler, etc. Anyway, we meet up for sushi and things are going great, tons of stuff in common, and then it was like a ducking psycho switch flipped. He started talking about how, now that we were going out, I couldn't wear nail polish because he got weirded out holding hands with someone who wore nail polish, and how he wanted to have a daughter but freeze her in time at the age of 4 so that she'd always be a daddy's girl and love him forever, and how when we got old we'd have to have sex with the lights off since I'd be wrinkly and unattractive, and just went on and on. I literally just stared at him speechless and tried to get through the date expecting, at the very least, a free meal. But no free meal. In fact, more expensive meal. This guy had the nerve to ask the waitress to split the check when he ordered twice what I had. We paid. I stormed out and never talked to him again. This was back when Tinder first came out and wasn't quite as known as a hookup app. We met and had a great first date. Second date was even better. Things kept going for about 2 months when she told me she went out with me originally in an attempt for a dinner with schmucks type thing where her and all her friends would bring the worst Tinder date. We both really liked each other, but I couldn't get over how we started. I messaged a cute blonde girl one day, got a response, and after a while of back and forth making each other laugh and getting along, I mention I'm in a wheelchair, and suddenly she was losing her ducking mind talking about our future and how she wants to explore places like Australia, and I wouldn't be able to do that with her because of my wheelchair. I'll let her go on for a while to see if she'd ever bring it around to a normal person thought process, but it never happened. She lost her ducking mind. Not mine, but my brother's. He lives at home with my mother still. So my brother met a chick on Tinder. Took her on a date, ended up bringing her home for a night, and then that was that. A few weeks later my mother went to the backyard and noticed the door to her camper was up. There was a bunch of clothes and a pair of forks Uggs boots that belonged to this chick. Turns out she had been sneaking into the camper at night and sleeping there and doing drugs. My brother had no idea of this, and my mom called the cops immediately, and it turns out the chick had a warrant out for her arrest. She's still in jail. Didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine started hooking up with this girl on Tinder about a year and a half ago. She wasn't very attractive, and he would always talk about how much he hated her, but I guess the sex was alright, because he kept seeing her. About 2 months into this, he decides he's going to end things with her and find a new duck buddy. Well, he heads over to her house to break up with her and is instead greeted with the girl telling him that she is pregnant and that it is his. First thing I tell him to do is to get a DNA test to make sure that it is in fact his kid. He insists that it is and doesn't get the test. He convinces her to put the baby up for adoption, but she decides pretty late into the pregnancy that she doesn't want to give up the baby and wants to raise it. Fast forward to a month ago, and my friend is stuck raising this kid with this girl he doesn't like. Well, I guess she didn't actually put my buddy down as the father on the baby's birth certificate and had been collecting money from the government for being a single mother or something, and the government wanted her to try and track down the father. That is how my friend found out that he might not actually be the father of the baby he's been raising. Still haven't heard back on whether he is or is not the father, but I hope for his sake that he isn't. Kids, if you're gonna hook up with someone you just met on the internet, wear a ducking condom. Your friend is so goddamn stupid he deserves to be broke. Won't argue with you there.